that keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Had to go live with a little bit of breaking news because the 49ers have released veteran defensive tackle Robert Nkemdiche, and it was a little bit of a surprise. This is something that wasn't expected to happen right now with the cuts that they're having currently. This is just like what happened with Darqueze Dennard yesterday. You have a veteran player who the 49ers see as somebody who's probably not going to make this roster, that they went ahead and released so that way he can try to land with another club. It's a nice move by them. I mean, their defensive line is absolutely stacked. Robert Nkemdiche, though, was a former first-round pick from Arizona, and he has absolutely flashed. He's been a spark plug during training camp. He's a guy that made some plays against Green Bay just Friday, so it was a little bit of a surprise to see him go as a part of this first cuts, but ultimately, Robert Nkemdiche, the 49ers felt, wasn't going to be a active member of this 2022 San Francisco 49ers team, and they have tremendous depth all throughout the roster. So they went ahead and released Robert Nkemdiche today, which is it was surprising. But and the 49ers continue to make moves. Bomber T's in chat says, I'm surprised. Yeah, I think I was surprised a lot when I saw the name come through. There could have been a lot of names. You know, and the Niners have a very talented roster. We've had question marks whether the 49ers were going to keep 4 interior defensive linemen or 5. And I mean, it was just yesterday in chat when we were talking about Dennard and we started talking about Nkemdiche a little bit. And the thought was, I said, I expected him right now to be on the outside looking in, but I did not foresee this coming, that they would release him right now. But I do think it is a nod to him, and doing a nice thing for him so that way he can go ahead and land on another roster potentially. I mean, the guy's still very talented. He's a penetrator. He can cause chaos in somebody's backfield, and welcome Paul to chat. So Nkemdiche is probably going to land somewhere. I'm hoping he doesn't end up landing in the NFC West where he can cause problems for the 49ers, but that is possible considering he has been with Arizona, he's been with Seattle, and now he spent training camp with San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers do move on from Nkemdiche, and Traffic says as well, yeah, kind of surprising. I think people aren't as surprised that Nkemdiche gets released. I might surprise some people that he did, but the fact that it came now and not when they were going to make final cuts. But they have other guys on this roster, that they feel really comfortable with. Hassan Ridgeway has just returned from injury, and I think that's a lot of the reason why Nkemdiche got signed in the first place. That's the same with the defensive lineman they released yesterday in Tommaso Lelele. So both of those guys were brought on because of injuries to Armstead and Hassan Ridgeway. And so now they're kind of moving on from some of these guys. But they have tremendous depth on the interior defensive line. Kevin Givens has had himself a really, really good training camp. So that has been nice to see. And also Akeem Spence is a veteran defensive lineman that's still here as well. And I thought he's looked nice throughout training camp. I thought he's been one of those guys that's penetrated and causing problems. But this could also signal a direction in which the 49ers want to go, which could be 7 outside edge rushers, because you have so much talent on the edge. And some of these guys have been logging snaps on the interior all throughout training camp. And I think that's one thing to remember, is they do have a lot of guys that have that versatility to play inside, like Kerry Hyder. I mean, that's part of the reason they brought him here. Now, he's not the 300-pound Kerry Hyder he was for Seattle last year, but he's still 275 pounds. You have also Charles Omenihu, who's been logging snaps on the inside. I think he's another guy that can play on the inside. And, of course, you have Ridgeway, Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens, and Eric Armstead, who are expected to do it all the time. And I think also Jordan Willis is another guy you could see playing on the inside. So this could be more of a signal of the 49ers deciding, you know what, we're going to go edge rushers. We believe our big edge rushers can play on the interior, and we're going to go ahead and start moving on from some of these interior defensive linemen, because that's not the way we see this team going. That could be what's happening here, and we'll see. And what's up, Mr. Corey? How's it going? Welcome to chat. And Paul says, is this a good sign that they may be Jimmy Ward is not ending up on the PUP or some kind of injured reserve list? I don't think they're going to put Jimmy Ward on any sort of list. I think they're going to wait, play this thing out, and see what happens. I think once he'll be on the 53-man roster, Once he is on the 53 on August 30th, they could turn around and then put him on an IR and then bring him back after a short-term IR stint. So I think that's the likelihood for Jimmy Ward. He'll either be back within the first 2 weeks or on that short-term IR, or just IR as they call it. But they've definitely shortened the time period at which you have to be on it. So I think that is the likelihood for Jimmy Ward. Traffic says, yeah, just goes to show you how stacked we are. That's another solid pickup for a lot of teams. It really is. And a guy that, I mean, he showed a lot of ability. He's flashed, he's slashed, he's gotten to the backfield and caused some issues all throughout training camp. So this guy's no slouch. He's a pretty good one. So, yeah, it's really exciting. And then Bomber T says, did they give a timeline for Jimmy Ward to return? No, they haven't gave one. They just said he was going to be out for week 1. They're keeping it kind of loose. But anytime you have a hamstring issue like this, you just never know when the player is going to be able to come back. So I think they're going to take it real easy. I think they're hoping that Dante Johnson is going to get healthy and get through the cartilage issue that he's having with his ribs, because then you feel like you have depth at the safety position. You know you're going to have Talanoa Hufanga and Tarvarius Moore probably starting, and then George Odom as the backup in the strong safety area. But if you have Dante Johnson, you feel like you have 4 guys that can go out there and do it, even if you don't have Jimmy Ward. I know they'd prefer to have Jimmy Ward. I would prefer to have Jimmy Ward, but you got to do what you got to do, and that might be the makeup of this safety room going into the season, and it might be why they had to make some tough cuts like a Darqueze Dennard yesterday, because they need to go ahead and keep a Dante Johnson. That was what it was going to be. Ronnie Montoya says, hey, Ant, I thought the team already made the cut to 85, or am I wrong? I thought so as well, so I think they might be freeing up a roster spot to be able to sign a safety. Kyle Shanahan had mentioned they were potentially going to bring someone in to play safety. Right now, they only have 4 guys that can play it, because Dante Johnson's nursing an injury, so he's not going to be able to do it. Jimmy Ward, of course, is on the sideline. So right now they would be rolling with Hufanga, Tarvarius Moore, George Odom, and then Taylor Hawkins, the undrafted free agent. You would like to have more than that going in, not only to these preseason games, but also these joint practices with Minnesota. So I think they want to bring in a safety. So they needed to make another cut right now, bring in a safety. And I think we'll probably see something happen here pretty soon, because they do need to make another move just for depth reasons. I don't think they have a cornerback right now that can go ahead and step and fill that role. So I expect something to come, down the line. We'll see what that ends up being. But maybe we'll get, somebody to come in here pretty soon. Maybe it will be a Tavon Wilson. We'll see. Paul says, I believe the only cut for yesterday and today was the deadline date. Yeah, but I think they already had a guy already gone. I thought it was already down, but we'll see. And Mr. Corey says, too bad Tart signed with Philly. Yeah, it's too bad, right, that they don't have Jaquiski Tart. Tart would have been a nice player to have on the roster, but they felt they had 2 guys that could potentially start with Tarvarius Moore and Talanoa Hufanga. Both have looked pretty good. Hufanga has looked fantastic. This is his best training camp of the 2, of course. He's developed in a multitude of ways. So I think that's why they're so high on Hufanga, and I think they expect him to be the starting safety once Jimmy Ward comes back next to him, but they're going to have to get through that first. So, yeah, I mean, I also thought, it's too bad Adrian Colbert had signed, and Adrian Colbert's playing on a roster right now. He would have been somebody I would have liked the 49ers to be able to bring in and compete, and he would have been a nice depth piece, right now as the 49ers look to continue to build this room, because they have injuries. And anytime you have injuries, you kind of have to start playing some games, with who's going to play where. So it gets a little interesting, and that's why you see a release like Nkemdiche that you probably wouldn't expect to see at this point in time, because they need to make another move. So we'll see what happens. And while I'm on here, while I have a second, tell everyone, thank you so much, everyone that has subscribed recently. I really appreciate it. To everyone that listens on audio platforms, thank you so much. You have just made 49ers Cutback have the largest week in history of plays and downloads on audio platforms. Thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. And anyone that's watching on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed already, if you would take the opportunity to subscribe, I'd appreciate that. If you haven't liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. We'll get back into this, because Robert Nkemdiche, has been released by the San Francisco 49ers. A veteran that, has had injuries recently, but it definitely flashed in training camp. So I think it's one of those things where right now you see how talented this 49ers roster is, and that's something that, people were saying in chat already. So I think that, the roster being so talented, I think it's easy to say it, but then when you start seeing some of the players that are going to get released, you're going to really be able to tell, like, wow, this team is so talented. And when you're going ahead and releasing two former first round picks, Darqueze Dennard, first round pick in 2014, and now Robert Nkemdiche, that's the talent level you have on this roster. They went out and got guys all over the place, and they had depth all over the place. And now you're seeing kind of the after effects of that. And what's up, Freddie McDre? Welcome to chat. I hope you're having a good day. And Ronnie Montoya says, does this team already have guys signed to the practice squad? No, you don't have anyone. They don't have anyone signed to the practice squad right now. If you watch Brick by Brick, you hear Kyle Shanahan talk about the fact they're going to go from 90 to 70 because you're going to make these cuts, and ultimately you have to get to a 53-man roster, but you're bringing 16 of those players back to the practice squad. You don't sign anyone to the practice squad until after you lock down your 53-man roster. Then it's a scramble. Of course, you have conversations with these guys, let them know you would like to bring them onto the practice squad when you have to go ahead and release them. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they go through and they contact every single player that made the team and the players that didn't. It's one of the great things I like about this front office and Kyle Shanahan is the personal relationships they build and the good relationships they build. And they let you know, hey, this is business. This isn't personal. And I think players really respect that and the way that Kyle Shanahan and them go about it. And this is another sign of that. Darqueze Dennard and Robert Nkemdiche, letting them go early in the process, knowing they're not going to make your roster, but hey, that way you guys can go land on another team. I think it's just another tip of the cap to how this front office continues to handle business. I really enjoy the way they go about it, and that's why you see tough situations like Jimmy Garoppolo and Deebo Samuel work out in a positive way because the front office has earned so much credibility with the NFL players on their team and around the league. This has become a destination where people want to play. And that's a good sign for the 49ers moving forward because the tax bracket's not going to help them any. They need everything they can get. And when you have a good front office and a good culture, that's going to cultivate some really good things for your organization and a lot of players wanting to come play for you. So I'm excited about it. Mr. Corey says, you guys are cool and have good content. You deserve the success so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Corey. I really appreciate that. And, I'm not going to stay on too long on this one. So if you have any questions, go ahead and populate chat for a little bit. This is going to be more of a quick hitter as I get into Robert Nkemdiche and then, kind of hop off. But I'm interested in getting into what people think about this or ultimately any questions you have because it's really fun to talk 49ers right now because it seems like the news just never stops coming. And what is up, Marvin? Hope you're having a good one here as the 49ers have, if you didn't know already, released Robert Nkemdiche. Of course, it's going all over right now. The 49ers put it out. It was probably about 45 minutes to an hour ago that Nkemdiche had been released. It came across my phone, and it was a little surprising. The Ant Hill Show was going on the channel at the time. So if you haven't seen the Ant Hill Show episode 3, where we talk about Samuel Womack, the interior offensive line, Trey Lance, go ahead and check that out. That's available now, and it was available yesterday for all channel members and available right now. So if you haven't had an opportunity, go ahead and check out that episode. I think you guys will really enjoy. Jay Hill brings a unique perspective and opinion that's always a little bit different from my own. So we have a little bit of difference there, but in some regards, we see things the same way. And another guy with a little bit of coaching experience. So take that for what you will. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, it is super hot, by the way, outside. So if anyone is dealing with that, I feel bad for you. It's ridiculous right now. And Bomber T says, tax is so bad here. They're hitting people with a luxury boat tax now. Ridiculous. Yeah, it's not a fun place to be in California. And that does enter the minds of players when they want to come to California to play, is the tax bracket is outrageous. You might have to pay a little bit more here. Mr. Corey says, since I missed the last chat, have you personally noticed Aaron Banks struggling in pass protection in one-on-ones in practice? There are moments where he struggles in one-on-ones. Now, since we're going to get into one-on-one conversation, I'll make it pretty clear. I'm not a huge proponent on one-on-ones. I don't think they give you a real depiction on how a player is playing for a couple of reasons. I think, number one, it's not a real-life football situation. You're going on one-on-one. That defender knows it's a pass situation. That defender has a tremendous amount of space to be able to use because you're not having a tackle next to you or a center next to you help. If you're Aaron Banks, for instance, it also creates, huge lanes for them to be able to rush. Also, they don't have to stay in any of their run lanes. So it makes it more complicated when you get into one-on-one. So one-on-ones are difficult for offensive linemen. I feel that definitely helps a defensive lineman. He knows that, more than likely he can get off the ball quick. He has a lot of space to be able to operate, and he already knows who's coming at him. He knows it's a one-on-one situation. That's not always the case in the game. So I think one-on-ones aren't a great way to determine how well a player is playing, but Aaron Banks has had moments where he's looked fantastic, where he's stymied, Javon Kinlaw in one-on-ones. And then he's had moments where Javon Kinlaw's beat him, or, maybe somebody more athletic has beat him as well. I think what you're going to get into is what you saw in the Packers game. Those are more realistic expectations for Banks. He's going to have moments. I mean, just like Burford, they're going to have moments they're going to get beat. But I like the way that they handle the overall 11 on 11. I think that is better for evaluating offensive linemen, because when a defensive lineman doesn't know if a run or pass is coming, it makes sense. So that's kind of my thoughts on one-on-ones. I've seen him have up and down moves. And what's up, David Campbell? But that's how I feel about it, Mr. Corey, overall. Fishing says Burford will be the second best lineman on the team by the end of the year. I'm not going to argue with you, Fishing, because the realistic point of view is Spencer Burford has far exceeded expectations, I think, for almost anyone except maybe himself coming out of the draft. I mean, the guy has been fantastic. Now, Spencer Burford did make our top 50 guys the 49ers should select in the draft on our big board. He was number 50, and the 49ers selected him. We did like Burford, but to tell you that I thought Burford was going to be a guy that was going to play at this level right away, no. I did hint. I thought maybe he would start, but he's exceeded my expectations. He's played so well already through training camp, and the film that he put out against Green Bay was pretty good. And I'm excited to see what his development will be against Minnesota. As he continues, I've just seen him grow every single opportunity that he has. So we'll see what happens. But Burford is a good football player. I'm excited about it. And if he ends up being the second best offensive lineman by the end of the year, I think the 49ers would be feeling really comfortable about their offensive line moving forward, especially if Banks continues to develop. I would definitely enjoy that. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I'm definitely excited about the offensive line overall and how some of these young interior players are getting better and better every single day. Fishing says, did you see the film of him throwing people to the ground? And yes, I did. I did watch that. I've watched a lot of it. In fact, I've been breaking down some of the all-22 film myself. I have got into some of the Spencer Burford. He looks good. Some of those plays that he's making right now, I mean, he looks like a grown man playing, with guys who aren't grown. And that's a good trait to have. That strength is there. The ability to understand what a defensive player is trying to do to you and then take advantage of their balance is important. So I've been really excited about Burford's film. I've seen a couple of plays maybe where he got beat up the field, with a nice rip move and things like that. But I expect those because an offensive line, you just can't win every single down. Even Trent Williams gets beat sometimes. But I've been enjoying the Spencer Burford getting after people. I think that's going to be exciting to watch all year. I think we're going to get some of those pancake blocks from Burford and I think we'll even get some from Banks. I think Banks is going to provide some fun television for us as well. Or if you're in person, some fun activities there at the field, because both of those guys are going to end up being beasts. And hopefully Mike McGlinchey's playing on one side. So when do they leave to go to Minnesota? Yeah, they should be on the way to Minnesota right now. I thought they were leaving yesterday, but they should be there in Minnesota getting ready for the practices because they're practicing on Wednesday and Thursday. So they should be ready to go. And Marvin says, I think they flew out today, David Monty. Today was the day off. So the 49ers were definitely, I believe they traveled last night, right? I think they did leave last night. So we'll see. I think there was a bunch of pictures that they put out of them traveling. I thought it was yesterday that they left. It was part of the reasons that they cut 4 guys yesterday. Well, so that way they didn't go to Minnesota with the team. So, the 49ers are on the way to Minnesota, and we're going to get a lot of good information, hopefully, coming out about these joint practices. You can learn a lot. And, and I'm going to be on here talking about everything that's happened from those practices because I think these are going to be very important. It was last year that they practiced the Chargers, and the Chargers were actively mocking Jimmy Garoppolo, and I felt like the team really stepped up and tried to embrace the entire situation. Fishing says, do you see McCurry Ball making the team? Unfortunately, I don't see McCurry Ball making the team. I think there's 5 linebackers ahead of him that are just really, really good and better than he is right now in his development. I think he needs to continue to get better as a run stopper and blocking and run fits. I think once he does, then he has an opportunity. But I see McCrary Ball being a guy that can make an impact in 2023 and beyond. I think that's what the 49ers have always seen, kind of what they saw from Flanagan Fowles and Azeez Al-Shire, a tremendously deep room. So I think McCrary Ball in 2023 is a possibility, but in 2022, I don't see it with the 5 guys that are ahead of him, and maybe 6 if you count linebacker Curtis Robinson. David Campbell says training with Trent Williams looks like it paid off for Burford. He's looking like Trent's mini-me. Yeah, I mean, you can learn so much tricks of the trade from Trent Williams, and also just how to prepare yourself to be an NFL player, going through the workouts, doing the things that Trent Williams does. But we've heard Bosa talk about it. We've heard also Colton McKivitz now talking about Trent Williams knowing, the tricks of the trade and understanding exactly what to do to certain defenders and how they approach him and changing up his approach every single snap in pass protection. So, yeah, I think so. I think his knowledge and wisdom is going to go a long way to help these young players. And the fact that Spencer Burford and Jason Poe went to work with them, I think are really good signs. My daughter just moved to Minnesota, to St. Paul. I told her she needs to go to the game. Well done, David. You tell her. Get her out there. Get some firsthand knowledge of what's going on at the game. And hopefully the 49ers have a really good showing like they did against Green Bay, so we can get some more good film and see these young guys continue to grow and get better. Joel says, who will be playing fullback this week? I believe it's going to be some of the tight ends. I don't think we're going to see Kyle Juszczyk in the game. I think we will see him at practices, of course, but I think they'll use the fullbacks. I've seen it all throughout training camp. They were using Tanner Hudson, Troy Fumagalli, Ross Dwelley. I don't know if Charlie Warner will play, but if he does, he can do it as well. Tyler Kroft, all these tight ends can handle it. They've been playing kind of an H-back role where they go in there and play a little bit of fullback. The 49ers could also run a lot more shotgun or single back sets, but I expect it to be the tight ends who fill that role because, they've been kind of doing it in training camp and Kyle Shanahan feels comfortable with it. That's why the Josh Hockett was a little bit surprising because he played all those snaps in week 1, but I guess they felt they were ready to move on from the fullback, and with injuries at other positions, it just seemed to be a place that they needed to go ahead and move on. But I don't expect to see Juszczyk, so it's going to have to be those tight ends unless they do something funky, which would be fun, right? All of a sudden you see Jason Poe. I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be funny. Paul says, how and where do we get information from Vikings joint practices? There will be reporters on the ground. There'll be, beat reporters from the 49ers, also from the Minnesota Vikings that will have access to this. So you will get some information. It will be open to, usually it's open to the public. I don't know if Minnesota will make it open. The Chargers had it open last year with a lot of people going. So we'll see if any of, the content creators are out there. But I fully expect us to get the information from the beat writers and from Kyle Shanahan himself. I don't think we'll get a ton of information, but there will be some. And it's always good to hear what's going on there. Mr. Corey says Burford might be Trent Williams' heir apparent. That's the way he's built. I think I don't know if he would be Trent Williams' heir apparent. I don't know if he would play left tackle in this league. I love him as a guard, potentially a right tackle, but I do love him so much as a guard. We'll see. But I mean, if you were right and Burford could be the left tackle, that would answer a lot of questions about what happens once Trent Williams kind of rides off into the sunset. So we'll see. Joel says Poe for fullback. Who knows? I don't think so. I think they like the way he's looking at guard. I don't think they really want to upset his development by trying to move him to a different position. But ultimately, I mean, they could do that. They could have a little fun with it. I don't think we'll see that, though. I think that is more of what we've all been hoping and wanting, and not so much of what the 49ers were going to do. So if you just joined, because we've had people that have been joining, Robert Nkemdiche, defensive tackle of the San Francisco 49ers, was released today. So the 49ers continue to, make their cuts. They had to release enough players. I'm not for sure. I think they're down to 84 now. If they are, potentially a signing of a safety could be coming. We'll see. But I don't know that for sure. I thought that they had already cut down, but we'll see. But Robert Nkemdiche, was a guy they signed and they really like. So if you just joined, that's what happened. Nkemdiche gets released, and now the 49ers are 2 interior defensive linemen short of what they were just a couple of days ago, releasing Tomasi Lolele yesterday, and then Robert Nkemdiche today. So a little bit of movement along the defensive line where the Niners have tremendous depth, making it so they don't have to release as many players at other positions. Kind of surprised they haven't released a wide receiver, but that, beyond what they did with Keyshawn Johnson, that must mean that they plan on not playing Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and them very much at all again. So, I mean, I don't think we're going to see those guys. We're probably going to see a similar rotation to what we saw in preseason game 1 against the Packers. Marvin says, while working as an OTR driver, and yes, I loved my job, drove in Minnesota some, tough place in the winter. Yeah, I mean, and that's not easy out there. And Marvin says she will hate the winters. I never wanted to live in a place that had a lot of snow and got really cold. That's not really how I like it. So I'm with you on that. No, don't love those cold weather situations. The only good thing about California winters don't get too bad. The only thing that does stink is days like today where it might hit 108, and that's ridiculous. But if you could stay inside and make it through, it's not so bad. But yeah, that's not going to be fun at all. Yeah, I'm with you on no cold weather. Minnesota, cold place. It always makes me think of the 49ers, playing in Super Bowl 16 against the Bengals and just frozen outside there in Detroit. And that's what I always think about when I think of that, the cold weather. Like, no thanks. And Mr. Corey says, I'm in Ohio. Whew. So you deal with it as well, Mr. Corey. Ouch. Hope you guys enjoy cold weather. I'm not about that life. Garish says, you have a great radio voice. Should join Sirius. Thanks so much, Garish. I really appreciate that. I always appreciate the comments, and especially from Garish. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun on this episode, guys. I'm not going to hold you guys too long today. I just wanted to talk about Nkemdiche. If something else comes, I'll make sure to hop back on, but I have other things that I'm working on along the way as well. So thanks everyone for checking in. Of course, one more time, defensive tackle Robert Nkemdiche has been released by the San Francisco 49ers. And so we'll see what happens as they go through these joint practices in Minnesota. So I think it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a fun time working up to the game on Saturday. Be on the lookout for all the content that's going to be coming your way, from a game preview show all the way to the game reaction show after the game and things in between. Another new show as well this week, so be on the lookout for that. A little 49ers Cover 2 coming at you. So I'm going to have a really, really good one. Hope you guys all have a good day. Stay safe, and remember, the right way is always the 49ers.